I think women's portrayal in the media is definitely male-driven. I think a lot of the portrayals of women are, if they're not totally connected to like male ideologies, they've sort of separated from them a little bit, but are still connected to them in some way. And then there's some that are entirely male ideologies and male-driven.
I think the question of whether a portrayal of women on media is negative or positive is kind of the wrong way to look at it. I think a much better way to look at it is to think about it as how narrow is the representation. And when you look at that, when you ask that question, you see that women are presented largely in sexual terms and in terms of their bodies. And there's nothing wrong with that in of itself, except when there's nothing else that balances it out. So when you look at the media representation of femininity, it is overly narrow around women's sexual behavior and around their bodies, and that denies who they are as full human beings.
I personally think that there's been both negative and positive portrayals of women in the media today. I feel that in music videos, especially some rap videos, there's been negative portrayal of women as sex objects or just objects of visual negativity. However, in politics, I think there's been a rise of positive influence with women.
I think that women in the media are portrayed as sex objects, and I think in music videos and on a lot of commercials and ads and magazines and stuff, they're shown as really sexual, and I don't necessarily think that's fair because men aren't always shown in the same way. And I think even like female characters are shown as weak and they don't really get as much done as the men, and I just don't think it's fair.
A lot of media portrayals of women don't encompass like the true women as people. I feel like the media portrays women as objects to look at, objects that participate in scenes, and you don't. And at least a lot of times, I don't get the sense that a lot of characters that you see on TV that are women are entirely fleshed out as characters. I just really enjoy like some TV shows that actually do flesh out and really do work with the women characters quite effectively, and they seem a lot more believable, and I find myself watching those shows even more.
I think they're clearly treated as sex objects and items that are just sort of out there for beautification. At the same time, I think a lot of advertising is exploitative in general, and it's everywhere, and the best that we can do as people is just ignore it. There's not going to be a lot that I can do to me personally to stop it, other than focus on what's important, which is not that at all. Focus on the life of the mind.